Nathalie, welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. First off, I know I said it off air, but I just want to express my gratitude for your time today. I've been very fortunate the last few weeks to kind of be introduced to your world and the value you have to offer. And as mentioned before we started recording, the audience of the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast are very, very high achievers across a number of different areas: business, health and fitness, personal development, obviously. And I was just, as soon as I heard the first mindset session that you ran for the group, just to give everyone a bit of insight, Nathalie is running some mindset sessions inside my business coaches community. And I was just like, I need to get her on the pod straight away. It resonated with me so quickly. So firstly, thank you. Very grateful for your time. And secondly, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. And like I told you before, this is the first Aussie podcast that I'm on. So I'm just so happy to be here. And it seems like you're doing really amazing things in your space, and just being your podcast being around for so long. It's such an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. And I'm certain that the listeners and those that are watching the podcast today are going to take so much value away, regardless of whether you're a business owner or not. But that takes us to us starting to dive in. So what I would love for you to do before we jump into the main portion of the chat is just to give the audience a bit of insight into, I think, what your life looks like today and you know how that looks, and then we'll do a bit of reverse engineering and backtrack from there.
Totally. So I am a mindset coach, and I am currently based in Los Angeles. I run a business that consists of one-on-one clients, as well as I teach mindset to communities, business communities, as well as I'm currently also teaching mindset in a finance community as well. So I've taught what I do primarily for online business owners, but this work is just really universal. And I've had the amazing opportunity to teach to so many other types of communities as well, that now I joke around and I say I basically made up my job. When I started in 2017, and it's just crazy to me where I've ended up now. And I'm self-employed. I live in this amazing, beautiful place, and I'm doing something I genuinely love, which is very different than the career that I was on track to pursue. And I'm fully self-employed, and I get to work from home and work with people from all around the world, just supporting them and shifting their internal world so that they can show up even more powerfully with everything they desire externally.
Amazing. I can heavily resonate with everything you're saying, which is awesome. And I think when I look back at when I really dialed in the mindset and the personal development side of things, I think there's probably a lot of listeners that are in a similar boat. I'd kind of looked at mindset purely based off just discipline and showing up and hard work. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously a lot of benefits to that, but there was a pivotal moment for me where it all started to click and shift. And I'm really curious as to whether or not that was the case for you, or from very early on, were you quite aware of like the direction you wanted to go in with your business and just with your life in general?
No, I wasn't very clear on that, and I did have a pretty big defining moment. I call it my quarter life crisis because I was 25 at the time. And so I'm a child of immigrants. My parents moved from Romania to the US in the late 1980s. And so then I was born in the early 90s. I'm a first generation Romanian American, and I'm super, super proud of that. But what came along with that is that growing up, my parents said, okay, we're in this country, you have way different opportunities than we had. My parents grew up in a communist country, and they left right around the time that communist government was just falling apart, and there was a lot of political unrest. And so they said the best thing you could do is become a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna be a doctor. So my whole life, up until my 20s, actually age 25, I was going to be a doctor. And I thought that was the best thing I could do, helping people, making good money, just having a very respected career. And I got into medical school. I finished my first 2 years. I even finished my first round of boards. And I had this quarter life crisis where I saw myself I just had this moment where I envisioned myself at age 40 which is crazy because now I'm 33, so that's not very far off. But at 25, 40 felt so far away. And I could see myself exhausted, disconnected from what I was doing. And I really just had this moment of, wait, is this really what I want? Is this really what I want to commit to for the rest of my life? And I hadn't thought about it super, super seriously. It just felt like the right thing based off of what my parents thought was best, but then also the community that I was in. I'm not sure if it's the same in Australia as well, but it's just if you can become a doctor, cool, great. If you have good grades and it's not very easy to get into medical school, then wow, that's amazing. That's something to be very proud of. And I was proud of it. But I took a year off after my second year just to kind of check in with myself. And actually during that year, I started doing health coaching because I did have a passion for, I was actually competing in bodybuilding competitions, and I competed in a couple of bikini competitions before medical school. So I felt very connected to this concept of just taking care of yourself, not just physically, but also mentally. So during my year off from medical school, I started this health coaching business. And after a year about doing that, I also realized that, man, the health and the nutrition and the workout side of things is great, but the secret sauce is in the mindset stuff. So after that first year, I transitioned to purely doing mindset work, and then eventually transitioned to working with business owners and just really coaching at a very high level. But after that year of taking time off, I decided, screw this, I'm not going back to medical school. And everyone thought that I lost my marbles. They thought that I was insane. You work so hard, and also education is very expensive here in the US, and so I had a lot of debt from medical school just the first 2 years, and I was so close to finishing and getting that degree and being officially a doctor. People were like, are you crazy? But it just felt very right for me. And so at my crisis moment, I said, I'm dropping out. I'm starting this business. I grew up in Michigan. I packed my bags and I shipped my car to Los Angeles, and 7 years later, I'm still here. And it was the craziest decision I ever made, but it was also the best decision I ever made. And that very first year of moving to California and really being all in my business without having my foot in the door of medical school and half in my business, when I was fully all in my business, I knew what I needed to do. I knew the action I needed to take. I knew I needed to get better at sales, at marketing. I needed to improve my fulfillment. I knew exactly what I needed to do. But I repeatedly found myself not doing it. And that's when I realized that all the mindset stuff that I was applying to my clients, that's the stuff I needed to work on for my business. And so that's when I hired my own mindset coach. And I had a lot of awareness of a lot of these principles of working on your internal world, but I hadn't actually practiced it for myself, for my own growth with my own business. I had done it with my health. I had done it with my nutrition and different workouts and really challenging my body, but I hadn't done it for my business and my career. And I realized that was the one thing that was really holding me back from being as successful as I wanted to be in my business. So I hired a mindset coach of my own, and he's still my coach to this day. Every Monday, 11 a.m. PST, me and my coach, shout out to Nick Tilia, he is my forever coach. I told him I'm not leaving until you literally kick me out. And so since I started working with him, my business has I've continuously surprised myself. And also, I've been able to continue to increase my quality of life here in Los Angeles, which is not the easiest to really make it here on just doing part-time jobs. I really wanted my business to succeed. I wanted to live where I wanted to live. I wanted to have the car that I wanted to have. I wanted to eat the food that I wanted to eat. So not only did my quality of life increase, my business expanded, but I was also able to do inner work for relationships. I met the love of my life. We just got married back in April.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. From all of this inner work, from that quarter life crisis moment, not only was I able to really step into the business that I want, live in the dream place that I live in, but also have the incredible relationship that I now have, all because of mindset work.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
We got some stuff to unpack there, but that's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing. It's so funny. We have so many similarities. I definitely wasn't studying to become a doctor, but from 2014 to 2017, I competed as well. I actually came and competed in Vegas, the Natural Olympia with the INBA or RCN here. But there's a couple things I want to lean into off the back of everything you've just said there. First one being, and I'm going to quickly tell a very short story about my dad. So my dad, very early on, when he was quite young, he wanted to be a policeman. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. He then started his plastering business, which he had for around 30 years. And very, very good at what he does. And it was a very successful business. And I can't remember the exact age, but I know I believe it was just after he'd turned 50. He shut down his business, went to the police academy, and became a policeman. And to this day, like I think this past week, he got his second or third promotion now, and just loves it. Like wakes up each day with passion and purpose and meaning. And when I kind of observed him doing that, like for me, that was just so inspiring. I'm like, how fucking cool is this? Like, absolutely. And it again kind of reiterates the whole notion around, there's never too late to change, right? And to go after what it is that you want. And so I am certain there are people listening to the show at the moment that whether they're having their quarter life crisis or whether it is just, whether they are just so well aware of the fact that they're not living in alignment or not following their passion, what advice would you give to someone who is in that position but is really just resistant to taking the leap to actually going after what they know is going to fill their cup?
Yeah, it's a very scary place to be because for our nervous systems, where we're at is, even though you might not want to be there, it's still comfortable. And when your nervous system is comfortable, it also associates safety with that. So logically and consciously, I knew that starting my own business and increasing my income potential essentially exponentially, it was a no-brainer, but subconsciously I was disrupting everything in my life. I was disrupting my previous career path. I was disrupting where I was living. I was disrupting my source of income. I was disrupting everything. And so it can be a lot to our nervous systems. So even though I literally flipped the table upside down on my whole life, I will say that first year was a big shift on my nervous system, and not everyone can do that. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for everybody, but it was the best decision for me. So it's kind of knowing yourself. If you're the type of person who's like, burn the bridge and burn the boats, that's going to really motivate me immensely, then that's always an option. And just knowing that you wouldn't desire what you desire unless it was for you. I really believe that we get in Jen Sincero's book, You're a Badass, she talks about the word desire. Desire means from God, from a higher power. And so when we think of the word desire, if this is aligned with your belief systems, we can also see that a desire could just be an idea from a higher power. But what if it's also an idea from our future self? What if it's an idea from our brain just showing us what's possible, what we're capable of? And so you get to honor your desire to change or to jump or to alter what your life path is purely based off of, you wouldn't think that unless you were capable of it. And so that's the first thing I would say. And if you're not the type of person to burn the bridge and just do what I did, which again, it's a lot. I worked through a whole year of really working on myself and calming my nervous system down before I really started seeing the true success I wanted in my business. So it took some time. But for other people, it's just really giving yourself permission to do it, because chances are it's really going to be a win for everyone in your life. I thought I was letting my parents down by quitting medical school and quitting this career that they kind of laid out for me and supported me in my whole life. But the truth is that I would have been letting them down if I stopped honoring myself, because I would be at that age 40, at that age 50, disconnected from my work. And I see so many of my friends that are in the medical field, and so many of them are just exhausted. And they're even like, I talked to this other doctor the other day, and I told her that I had dropped off, and she jokingly said, "Man, good for you. I should have dropped out too." But it's like, people joke about this all the time, because it's just, unless you're in it like fully, it's tough. And so I would say just really seeing how this desire is not just for you, it's for other people. And even though my parents were pretty upset that first year, now they're my biggest fans. To this day, my mom actually got me my biggest speaking gig. I spoke to 30,000 engineers at her company before she retired, which was insane. And so now she's my biggest fan, but like I had to take the jump. I had to see my decision to change thing as really a win, not just for me. This wasn't me just being selfish. This was me doing it for my parents so that I could have more freedom and spend more time with them. I've been able to. It was a win for my income and my earning potential because I was able to make even more than I would have made as a doctor. It was a win for the world because I felt like I was really impacting people in a way with sustainable mental change, in a way where I feel like the medical system, at least here in the US, it's good with giving different support for things like anxiety and depression and like diagnosable mental conditions. But for the person that doesn't have those, we don't really have a supportive system with that, with nutrition. And stuff like that. So I felt like I was able to pursue this business and really help people through sustainable change. And so it was a win for just so many people for me to pursue this. And the things that would hold me back were like, oh, letting my parents down, or what if it's a mistake, or what if it doesn't work out? Those are all just excuses my brain would tell me to keep me in my comfort zone. And if I
Keep
really
you
sat,
safe and familiar.
exactly, to keep you safe, your nervous system is going to prioritize safety and comfort and familiarity. But when I sat down with every single one of those excuses, they weren't actually true. So I would also encourage people to sit down with your excuses or your buts and see, is this actually true? Is it true that for me, it was like, well, what if my business doesn't work out? And I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just move back to Michigan. It'll stuck. I'll get a job. I'll maybe try to get back into medical school or try to pursue that, or maybe not. But then I'll probably just try again. And I'll just keep going. Like all of my buts weren't really buts. So I'd say just really sitting with that and noticing that our brain will try to do that.
Yeah, amazing. One of the things that I repeat quite often inside our coaching community is like that fear of failure, which I think more often than not is not a fear of failure. It's the fear of judgment, fear of embarrassment, fear of shame, and all of these things.
Yep.
That keeps so many people stuck, right? And I think the other component of this is around like, well, how can I articulate this? You mentioned before, like the people joking about it, right? Oh, I wish I had have done that. Oh, I'd love to do that too. To me, that's such a big sign that this person has essentially just crossed out the possibility of that actually being a reality for them. And so until you use yourself as an example, that convicted decision and the energy that comes with the convicted decision, where it's not half in, half out, and it's like, I don't have to have it all figured out. Like, I'm not meant to know the how just yet, but can I start taking these actions in alignment with the direction I want to go in? And I guess that very interestingly, it kind of ties us into the next question I wanted to ask around identity, particularly around, it doesn't necessarily have to be business, but I think, in general, I know myself, I've had 3 or 4 identity crisis or identity shifts over the years. And I heard this quote this morning on a podcast I was listening to, that what you're conscious of being, you already are. And if I come back to what I said just before, it's like people who are essentially just blocking off the possibility of them having what they want, they will continue to receive evidence over and over and over again that it can't be done because of the fact that they've made their mind up and they're already operating from the vibration of lack. And so I know this is a very long-winded question, so I apologize, but identity, how important is it, whether we tie this in with self-image, self-worth, whatever it may be, like how big of a role for yourself personally did the identity piece play in getting to where you are right now? And what was the heaviest or most resistant thing you feel like you had to move through and let go of to be able to be in that position that you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. Identity, I think, has played a huge role, and it's even something I work on with my own clients all the time. And the way that I've utilized it is seeing that as humans, I really believe that from a young age, we know what we're capable of. But as we move through the world, whether it's our education system or our communities or just our environments that we can't always control growing up, we get things in our brains that inhibit that. Like, I love when I ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say a unicorn. I'm like, yes, 1000%. I love that. And I think that there are very many successful adults that are unicorns in their own way. But imagine if instead of telling that, maybe shutting down that child, we embrace that. We kind of from a really young age cultivated this idea of you know exactly what you're capable of, and you're capable of really big shit. And we forget that. And I noticed that even in my own journey, I forgot what I was really capable of. And once I left medical school and started my business, I started remembering, oh, I know exactly what I'm capable of. All these fears of what if I can't do it, what if I can? Of course I can do it. I know exactly what I'm capable of. And I think we've forgotten how creative we are. We've forgotten how powerful we are. And I've worked with children quite a bit. I used to work in daycare, and I was also a piano teacher. So I spent so much time just seeing the way that their little brains work, and they're so powerful and smart and insightful, and they have such great insights. And we lose that as adults when we enter the workforce, or just go out into the world. And especially now with social media, there's just so much input always that are just disconnecting us from who we truly are. And so the way that I've continued to access it and even supported some of my clients with this is, you know what you're capable of, and you have this vision of where you're meant to be. What if we didn't have to wait, and this kind of goes along with your quote, what if we didn't have to wait until you got there at age 50? What if you started showing up as that version of yourself today? And this idea of, well, I know that I'm capable of it, and I'll achieve this amount of money, I'll have this amount of freedom, I'll have this level of health then. What if we started showing up today as that version of ourselves?
Yep.
And when I've kind of like completed this loop, I don't know, maybe it was Gabby Bernstein that I heard this. I think it was maybe someone else. I'm not 100% sure. But we can think of like life as a loop, and our identity as kind of a loop, where we have this vision of our future self, and it doesn't end with us trying to pursue it. We actually get to get closer to that future version of ourselves by showing up as them today. Because chances are you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly the action you should take. Maybe you need to learn some different strategies for marketing and sales. Sure, we all can learn new things, but chances are you know exactly what you're capable of, so you can start showing up as that version of yourself today. And I actually recently, in the past year and a half, I started coaching some MMA athletes, and we're even using this with them, where we're working on them showing up powerfully for some like pretty high stakes fights. And we are essentially working on how can they show up as the version of themselves that's already won this fight before they even step into the ring, before the fight even starts. How can you show up?
Like they've been there before. It's nothing new.
Exactly.
It's familiarized and normal.
Exactly. It's normalized. And it's funny because then once they win the fight, or with some of my own clients, once they achieve that new income mark that they've been dreaming about for so long, it's a little underwhelming. They're like, oh, wow, cool, I did it. But like, it doesn't feel so special. I'm like, yeah, because you've already been this version of yourself.
That's exactly what we want.
For weeks and for months, if not years. And so this is great. You've normalized it already, and let's celebrate it. And now let's expand it. Let's keep moving forward with that. And so identity has been a really big thing for me, but just realizing I don't have to wait to be my future self in the future. I can be them today and then expedite that timeline. And that was a big unlock for me, specifically that first year of business when I first moved to California. I was showing up as the limited version of myself, the version of myself that just dropped out of medical school, not the future version of myself that was making a lot more money and had a lot more impact.
Oh man, I relate to this so much. I think it was an episode a couple of weeks ago. I actually spoke to the audience about having run a business, a successful health and fitness business, to then introducing personal development and mindset, and essentially forgetting all the shit that I'd been teaching everyone else about, the identity piece. And I released my first ever mastermind, which was a 4-week mastermind. That was the first offering as a mindset coach.
Cool.
And I want to say I, kind of marketed for it for 3-4 weeks in the lead up to it. And it was extremely cheap, too cheap, or not even cheap. We don't want to say cheap or expensive. It was not a large amount of money, right? Yes. And we got to the start date and no one had signed up. And so a few things went through my head. I'm like, okay, I can either pretend that it's sold out and make, fake scarcity. I can just never say anything about it and pretend that I didn't even market it and just push it off and then just not do it. But instead I put a post on Instagram essentially explaining all of it, saying like, look, I've just started to offer this. Nobody signed up. I reacted to it. I was reacting to what reality looks like already, and I was trying to force this outcome. And so I was like, here's what I'm going to do in the next 12 months. And I'm going to document exactly what I already should have been doing to show you how this is so effective. And so I think it was a month later, we launched the second one. And beforehand, I said to myself, I don't give a fuck whether there's 500 or 0 people that sign up. I'm going to show up to this whole program as if there's 100 people that have paid me 10,000 each to be in here. And that shift in frequency and the shift in how I was showing up, I was now showing up the way that I was meant to show up the first time. Not reacting to what it looks like, but more so operating from that future self. And so coming back to you, I don't want to make it about me. Coming back to you, when you moved to California, really leaning into the future self and the embodiment, what was one, or maybe there was multiple things that you really needed to shift from the old self to start aligning with that future version of you?
Being fully and 1000% myself. With getting into medical school, I got very good at knowing the right things to say, at asking the right questions, at being professional in a certain way. I had learned how to show up. I'm still myself, but it was a watered down version of myself. My true self, she's got a lot of energy. She also swears sometimes when she gets really excited. Couldn't do that in the hospital. She also is very honest about her opinions on certain things. She is relentless with talking about the things that really matter to her. She owns how life-changing the work she does is. And these were not things that I was doing. I was not posting on social media regularly. I watched a video, the first YouTube video that I ever posted. It was for the bodybuilding.com. They would do like the bodybuilding athletes every year. This was back in like
Steve Cook.
But I'm pretty sure it was like 2009, and I watched that video of myself talking to the camera. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I do not recognize her. She was like whisper talking, and she didn't have a presence. It's just so crazy how held back and reserved I was in that. And then I even look back at some of the first videos I did of myself in my business. Even some of those, I was holding back. I was nervous. I was always wanting to be perfect. Now I stutter sometimes. I get so excited. I want to say like 5 words at the same time. Who gives a shit? Like, just move on and just make a joke out of it. So the biggest thing I think was being myself and really fully embracing that and seeing that that was going to be the thing that makes me most successful. I don't have to be any other version of myself. I don't have to be like someone else. I don't have to say things in a certain way. And that was like a really, really big defining moment for me to be like, Nat, you are you because this is who you're meant to be. And you are
more than enough.
Exactly. You are above and beyond enough. You're so worthy of everything that you desire. And the best way to get all of that and to have the impact that you want to have and to be the successful business owner that you want to be is by being yourself. I know it doesn't feel right, and I know it feels a little awkward, but that's really the ticket. And that has been the key to me meeting my life partner, to me working with some really, really awesome communities and clients. It's all been because I've been myself. So that's one big identity thing that really worked. And the second one was listening to my own inner compass. I don't follow a lot of, well, maybe I do. I don't really spend too much time on social media these days, but early on in my business, I was consuming so many things. Like, what's this person doing? What's this person doing? What's this? What strategy should I do for my ads with this? What should I do for marketing? How should I create these reels? Like, I was always looking at what other people were doing, and it would muddy up my own inspiration. So I just unfollowed every other account that was related to what I was doing. I only followed my best friends and my coach and his coach. And I just cut the noise of everyone else's bullshit. Even though it was good stuff for a lot of
Yep.
other people, I was like, fuck this. I'm not listening to anyone else's input. I'm just listening to what feels right for me. And that kind of goes hand in hand with also being myself. But I was able to really hone in on, don't force yourself to do anything that someone else does, but also don't use that as an excuse not to take action. You still got to take action. You still got to do it. You still got to be consistent and just move forward in your business. But stop comparing yourself to other people and trying to replicate what other people are doing, because you're not going to get to where you want to be doing other people's shit. You can learn tools from them, yes, but you still have to do things that you have to still use your internal compass in this process. And that has made me the most successful in my business. 95% of my clients come through referral, and that is a dream fucking come true. I love that. I love that. And I couldn't have got here unless I listened to that internal compass. And it is just such a gift to be able to do that and to have crap. I mean, granted, I've been doing this for almost 8 years, so it took some time to get here. Absolutely. But it was so worth it to really listen to that compass. And I wish I did that sooner.
Incredible. Well, I think a conversation that comes up a lot in my coaching community around this shift, right? Around showing up as the future self, getting clear on the frequency and the vibration we want to be operating from, is obviously when we're rewiring certain patterns that have more than likely been there for an extended period of time. It is not an overnight thing. And it's that matter of having the awareness, being able to catch yourself, be intentional about how you want to show up, have the gap between stimulus and response, all of this stuff. Undoubtedly, one of the most challenging parts in the early stages is when reality hasn't changed and you are falling back into essentially these old patterns. I'm just curious if you have any advice or if you could share your approach around early days, when those days were showing up, when you found yourself reacting like the old self would. How were you able to, I guess, catch yourself out and kind of move through that, even when there was days and weeks where it's like, fuck, I know this shit works, but at the moment it doesn't look like fucking anything's working. How did you continue to show up for yourself in those moments?
The biggest thing for me was finding a parallel in something that I had already done, that even though there were moments where the results weren't showing up externally, I was still able to move forward. So I doubted it in my business, but I remembered to when I was a health coach and there were so many women struggling with being able to, well, I'm not losing weight. The number on the scale isn't going down. Well, okay, what progress have you made? You're taking your measurements. What about there? How about your clothes? How do you feel? What about your sleep? What about your energy? And so I was like, okay, if I believe in a process such as weight loss, and I even thought back to getting into medical school, like it's very much, am I going to do it? Is it going to happen? And it's like, I got all the good grades. I did the research. I applied to the place. I had a good interview, but it's sometimes when the applications that you submitted aren't coming in, you're like, am I going to get in? Like it's kind of a waiting game. We get to still remember that there's progress being made, but we also get to just trust that moving forward is still moving forward, even though you maybe don't have that number that you want or the application or the job that you've gotten. So I really saw if there's proof that I believe in this process of I'm making progress, even though I don't physically see it yet, and I can see that in a weight loss journey, how can I see that in my business? What would that be? So let's say even though I wasn't making the money that I wanted just yet, where were my lead gen KPIs at? Where were my client testimonials at? Were they better? Like, where could I still see proof of improvement? How could I assess and look at my close rates? How could I look at just overall my confidence on sales calls? And choosing to see other forms of measuring success, which oftentimes we won't focus on because we'll be like, I just want to make the money. I want to get the new clients. I need to make the sales. Very early on, we're just very like numbers driven and proof, like I need to see the money in my bank account and then I'll believe in myself. Whereas now, a majority of my clients and their payment plans are like the very beginning of the month. So there are stretches where I don't make any money for several days, but I don't really give a shit. Like, it doesn't really mean anything to me. And so, but back then it would. So I had to almost train myself to say, okay, how can I really shift my perception of success where I'm not just focusing on one metric, I'm focusing on several. And how can I use the fuel from some of those other metrics to keep me going? Because the truth is that I know I'm going to progress. a great thing I love to teach on is the people that you at most admire that are successful, the common denominator with all of them is they just kept going.
Yep.
Everybody has their own path. Everyone, like Alex Hormozy did it his own way. Another, Tanner Chittister, another community I work, he did it another way. Like everyone has their own ways of doing things, but the common denominator with every single one of them is they kept going even when maybe they shouldn't have, or people told them that they're crazy for continuing. So I kept telling myself, you really just have to keep going. It's inevitable that you'll succeed as long as you keep going. But how can we also orient how you're measuring the path to getting there, where you're not just focused on this one metric? You can see growth in another area. And I have even to this day on my phone, I have a folder in my photos, and it's just screenshots of years and years of testimonials. So if I'm ever getting discouraged, I go and I'm reading those, and I'm seeing those. I'm like, okay, no, we're way further along clearly than we were a year ago or 2 years ago or even 6 months ago. Keep going. And so I've forced myself to see other forms to measure moving forward. That's not just that one number.
Beautiful. I love the way you've just explained that. I feel like that's super relatable and something that people will be able to put to practice straight away, regardless of what their future self looks like or what their outcome is. You mentioned testimonials. Now, obviously, I don't expect you to mention names and whatnot, but I'm just curious as to whether or not there is a testimonial that really stands out to the point where it's even, I'm not going to say it shocked you, because obviously you know that the work you do is extremely valuable and it works, but is there a testimonial that stands out to you where it's like, holy fuck, like this is just the epitome of putting to action the things that I value and teach?
Yeah. There's one that stands out because it's probably the most recent, and it's on my to-do list this week to actually edit it and put it on YouTube, but I haven't put it up there just yet. And it's actually not a business client, it's one of my athletes. And he was my first official, second official athlete testimonial. And it was really cool for me to see how, even though I've been in the online space for business owners for so long, to see these same principles just really be so game changing for this person in their career as an athlete. And this athlete in particular had a rematch. He was fighting the only other opponent he'd ever lost to. So there's a lot of pressure. There was a lot of fear of like, well, what if he beats the shit out of me again? What if I make a fool out of myself? And he ended up winning this fight. And it was a unanimous decision by the judges. All 3 rounds he won. And I'm like getting chills as I'm saying this, because even I had like a holy shit moment of like, wait, I know this shit works, but it's just really cool to keep seeing it work in numerous different ways, and to see how it completely transformed this athlete's energy and the way that he showed up, the way that he was thinking, the way that he trusted himself, the way that he carried himself, the way he made decisions, the way he also just like, and I was able to watch the fight as well, not in person. One of these days I'll go to my athletes' in-person fights, but it was just so cool to see like, holy shit, this shit really works. And it's so cool to have someone, and he wasn't very aware of mindset work before, even though he had such a great record of wins. He'd won so much without it. To see his excitement and eagerness to now implement it moving forward, my coach also works with athletes, and he calls it the unfair advantage. And what the most athletes don't have. And it really just gave me an even deeper appreciation of this work, to really see that it is actually a game changer for everybody, athlete, business owner alike. And if you're not really taking advantage of it, you're missing out. And so this athlete in particular was really awesome. TBD, it'll be up on YouTube within the next, I need to edit it this week. It'll be up within the next 2 weeks, but it was an amazing, amazing testimonial that I can't wait to share.
Incredible. By the time this episode comes out, I think if you're going to do it the next week or 2, I think it'll be up. So I'll make sure that I link that in the show notes for everyone to go and check out.
Wonderful.
I want to just shift a little bit towards for the back end of this conversation. As I mentioned to you, we do have a lot of business owners in our community, and again, if I look at some of the major limiting beliefs that I've had to move through when it comes to business in particular, a big one has been around money, been around finances, and fuck, Nathalie, if I spoke to you 2 years ago and you asked me to do a sales call, I'd probably rather stick pins in my eyes because I was so awkward and resistant to it because of my own limiting beliefs. That's all changed now. I'm not going to say that I feel 100% great about them still. However, it's shifted a lot, and a lot of the reasoning behind the shift is, one, obviously taking action, but two, just drastically shifting the way that I'm looking at it. You know, I literally never call them sales calls at all anymore. Really, for me, it's you know, and that's helped a lot. But I believe it was last week inside the community with Reese, we touched on a number of stuff around sales mindset, and there were some really, really impactful things that you mentioned, and I know that the audience will take so much fucking value from getting some insight into this. So I would love for you to dive into a little bit around, you know, the psychology and the mindset of sales, and how you've really found a positive impact with some of these shifts that we spoke about.
Absolutely. Similar to you, I don't call my sales call. I don't really do sales calls anymore. I just have conversations with people. And something that really lands with a lot of my clients is seeing it as just a service call. This is me hopping on the phone or in a Zoom call with someone that needs my help, clearly. They are looking for solutions, and I'm here to help them. I'm not here to just have them give me my money, give me their money. I'm that's not what I'm here for. I don't just want to take their money just for shits and giggles. I want to help them. And so remembering that from the very beginning was a big deal for me. And even to this day, whenever I hop on the phone with someone, it's very much just a conversation. Have I gotten better at talking about my offer? Have I gotten better at handling some of their objections? I wouldn't even say it's objection handling. It's just trying to understand what are some of the things that are standing in the way, or they think that are standing in the way, from them honoring what they feel like they need. It can really be just, again, a conversation and understanding. Let me help you in getting you to the place where you can say yes to yourself about the thing you need help on, because clearly you need help with something, and hopefully I can provide the solution, but also if not, that's okay. So first off, seeing it as a service call instead of a sales call. Number two, seeing a no as, I personally, unless it's sometimes I hop on a call with someone, I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I hopped on a call with them. I do not want to work with this person. And so seeing it as an opportunity to also choose who I want to work with. Sometimes we feel very much at the mercy of, okay, I'm hopping on a sales call with this person. Hopefully they say yes to working with me. But what if you don't say yes to working with them? What if you get to choose as well? So I think it's also as much of a choosing for us as the coaches as it is for them as the clients, as it should be. And so that kind of takes the pressure off of it. But whenever someone says no, or it's a not yet, I don't choose to make that mean anything. I don't have to make it mean anything about, oh, I'm not worthy of being a successful business owner, or I'm not cut out for this business, or I don't know if I am good at sales enough to do this. I see the no as it's a not yet, or I see it as a opportunity to follow up. I see it as an opportunity to build more trust. I've definitely been that person where someone feels like they have a solution for me, but I genuinely just need to make sure that they're not a total quack and that they are a really good fit. I think about myself as someone who invests and buys things, and I'm not just clicking on a Facebook ad and dropping $5,000 on and hopping on a sales call and paying someone $5,000. So why am I expecting that of someone else when I'm not even going to do that myself? So it's being able to really notice that even if it's a no, it's a not yet. And it's just an opportunity to, I think there's also so much bullshit in the online space. There are a lot of people that are scamming. There are a lot of people that are full of shit. And so whenever you get to interact with someone, whether it's a sales call or it's whether through the DMs, it's really just an opportunity to be human, to show them that you care, to not pressure them or push them or force them into anything they don't want to do, and to really just keep following up with them and show them you care, and show them that, like, I've had people that are like, I can't work with you right now because of my finances. And I'm like, great, I want you to be at a place where you are comfortable to pay me, because I don't want you to be stressed about money to the point where you can't focus on what we're working on. So I'll follow up with you. I'll check in with you. But until then, here are some free resources. Here are some other ways that you can still build some momentum until we work together. And I think that that's often very rare. And so many of us make not hitting sales means this detrimental and horrible
Something
thing
about
for
us.
yeah, but it's actually, it's not. It's just an opportunity for you to just keep going and be human and be understanding and be kind and be patient, but also hold people to their word, hold them accountable, follow up
Mm.
with them. I have this big list, and I will literally follow up with people that I talked to last year, and even if they don't respond to me, I'm still going to, I mean, I'm not harassing them. I'm just gently just checking in and being like, hey, I want you to know I haven't forgotten about you.
Yeah,
I still
yeah,
care about you. I know what you used to say and said about what you need. And sometimes people will be like, no, actually, I got help somewhere else, but thank you so much for following up. I'm like, okay, amazing. Fuck yeah, they got help
yeah.
somewhere else. Cool. But now they'll still keep me in the back of their head. There's someone that
Mm.
genuinely cared and held them accountable. So that's the third thing is really just seeing the no as it doesn't mean anything about me. It's just an opportunity for me to keep being myself and showing I care. And then the final one, wait, there was a fourth one. It was like on the edge of my brain as I was talking, and I was like shoving it aside, but now I can't remember what it was. Um,
I do this about 3 to 4 times a day.
yeah,
It
there,
happens to
but
me all the time.
yeah, I wanted to finish my thought and I was going to come to it. That's okay. It might come up later. But I would say those are probably some of the biggest things that really help so many people that I work with just really release this pressure around sales and really just see it as an opportunity to be human and be kind and just help people and do it yourself as yourself.
Amazing. And I think I would be. I think the audience would be not happy if I didn't ask this follow-up question to this. And I feel very grateful for your time because this
Oh
is
my
so
gosh, of
valuable. And
course.
I know
I
that,
love,
what you do is extremely valuable and the
yeah,
results and the impact that you have on people's lives is incredible.
yep,
A big part of why sales is so awkward for a lot of people quite clearly is their beliefs or their relationship with money.
yeah.
And so I'm just curious to hear for yourself personally, like whether there were certain money beliefs that you moved through early on. And I guess if you were to be able to articulate to someone, in your opinion, how they should view money to become a lot less attached to the emotional side of it, like
Mhm.
what would your advice be to help someone really, change the way that they are looking at money, which ultimately is going to help them in their
Mhm.
business to be able to start, whether it's charging what they're worth, whether it's being confident about naming a price, whether it is about being, having the systems to live the life that they want to live without being fucking stressed about whether or not they're going to be able to afford it or have any money all the time. Like, would love to hear your opinion on how
Mhm.
someone can really shift the way they're looking at money at the moment.
Yeah. Man, I could do like a separate podcast on each one of those, the
I know.
value one.
Yeah.
We can have like an hour at least conversation, if not more, on each of those. The biggest thing I will say when it comes to money is we really get to see it as a tool. And so many people have so many charged up money beliefs because of their upbringings that get in the way of them utilizing money in a way that is profitable and feels good to them. And being able to change our meaning around money, I'd say, is the best first place to start. I'll use myself as an example. Growing up, my parents were immigrants. They came with like $120 in their suitcase. It was crazy. And now, even looking at the life they've built now, they just retired in Florida. They have this beautiful home with a pool. They're living their dream life finally. I'm like, thank God, you guys deserve it. And
Hmm.
so seeing what they've built is just crazy. But growing up, for me, my parents always just said, save, save, save money. But they never told me for what. I kind of wish my parents would have told me, like, hey, those couple of thousand you got when you graduated high school, just put 1,000 in the
Hmm.
S&P. Just put 1,000 in like a Roth IRA, and just trust me. I wish they would have told me that. And my husband and I talk about this, like, okay, how are we going to teach our children financial literacy? What's our game plan and all of that?
Mm.
And so I was taught to really just save, but it was really from that, it was a very scarcity mindset of like, you never know
Yeah.
when you need it. And I also saw, whenever my parents did talk about money, they talked about people doing shameful things with money, making bad decisions,
Mm.
wasting it. We had a neighbor that lived in like a bigger house than everyone else across the street, and my parents were always saying like, "Oh, look at what they spent their money on. What a horrible decision." And from a really young age, I saw everyone who had a lot of money. I was like, they're not making very good decisions. They don't seem like very good people. I hadn't
Yep.
met a lot of rich people, or maybe I did, but I didn't know they were rich, or I didn't know they had a lot of money. So some of my first beliefs around money were that you have to save because it's scarce and you never know when
Yep.
you're going to need it, and it's just bad and greedy and selfish to want a lot of money. And so I would encourage everyone now to really think about what did you, from a really young age, what were your initial thoughts about money? What were you taught, or what did you see happening around you with money? For a lot of
Mm-hmm.
my clients, many of them will be like, money was always a source of conflict. So I didn't want
Yeah.
anything to do with it because it was always just causing fights. It was always causing stress. There was very few people have experiences of money where it's like, oh, money's great. I love money. What a great
Yeah.
tool. Cool. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about it. My coach and his wife, they're now like my best friends. They live right down the street, and so um, I see them raising their kids, and the way these kids are with money, they're not like I went to a very wealthy high school, and so I saw some very like entitled behavior with money that wasn't like the best.
Mm-hmm.
But just seeing my coach's children and how they talk about money and how they act around money, it doesn't have any scarcity. It's very
Yeah.
much like, and it's crazy. I don't know how much. Um, I like manifestation, but it's not like a super big pillar to my teachings, but I absolutely respect it and utilize it. But it's just crazy to see these kids, they're 11 and 12, and the money and the opportunity that they manifest and just the business ideas they come up with, like it's like the world is their oyster when it comes to money. There's no
Mm.
limitations around what's possible and what they could receive and what they could create. And so even though I didn't have that upbringing, I can still teach myself that now. Even though,
Mm-hmm.
and I see the way that these children grow up and they have these expansive perceptions about money, instead of saying, man, I wish I had that, I can say, well, I can have it now. I can teach myself now.
Yeah.
So identify what was the main story around money. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you could go back in time and teach yourself a new story, what would that be? And oftentimes it's as simple as the contrast. So for
Yep.
me, instead of being just save, 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 it would be saving's important, but there's also a really awesome way to be so smart with investing and spending money. And it would also be some people do really horrible things with money, but you get to be someone who does really amazing things with money. And someone like you having a lot of money is the best thing for the world. So
Mm.
that's the flip side of what I would teach my younger self. And now I get to start teaching as I'm saying it, I'm getting chills. Even though I've worked on this for years, it still is like such a big like shift. Like I can feel the expansion and the freedom with the alternative. I can
Yep.
feel the freedom that comes with just believing that. And I consciously, I know it's true. I know it's true that saving and investing and spending, all of the above are great. But I also, whenever I notice myself being a little stingy or feel a little icky around money, I remind myself of these new things, the alternatives that I just mentioned, the new thoughts that I would teach my younger self. And little by little, and I would do this before I paid my rent, I would make sure that my thought patterns weren't ones of scarcity and reflective of
Mm.
what I was taught. I'd make sure before I paid my rent, making sure that I was thinking thoughts of how wonderful that I'm circulating this money. I'm so grateful that I can pay rent to live in Los Angeles, 5 blocks from the beach. How fucking awesome is that? Send the money right now. Let's pay it a day early.
Hell
Amazing.
yeah.
Or paying my credit card bills before it was like I was in so much debt and I'd be like, oh my God, paying it. I started paying it from the mentality of, no, this is great money. I'm paying off this credit card, and I'm um, really doing great things with this money because this credit card has my food on it. It has a couple donations to some animal rescues on it. Like, this is so great. I'm paying this off. How wonderful. And really changing the narrative around specific money activities that would trigger me. And this can apply for sales. A lot of people in business, they hop onto a sales call thinking thoughts of like, shit, is this person going to pay me? I really need to pay my rent. Oh my
Mm.
God, can I do this? Or man, I'm three closes away from hitting a new all-time high in my business. Can I do it? I don't know if I can do it. I really make sure you don't fuck it up. And thinking thoughts that often get in the way, but we get to change that narrative and start teaching the part of our brain that's very used to thinking a way that we've probably thought for a long time, that probably our parents and grandparents
Yeah.
also thought about money. We get to start changing it now. That's all I'll say for now, because I could go on forever.
No, that was incredible. I love this, and I think we most definitely have to lock in. We might have to lock in a bloody podcast series. I think because there's so much shit that I could talk about with you.
Yeah.
I love it, but again, I'm so appreciative of your time. I've got two very quick questions for us to finish off on. First one is what is your current sky high desire or North Star? Like, what is it at the moment that Nathalie is embodying to attract?
Right now, what I'm embodying to attract is, on a practical numbers level, I want to replace my husband's income, and I want
So you about to
to
say you want to replace your husband?
no, my husband's income.
Income, yep.
He runs his own business, so it's not like I'm taking him out of his business. It's just a personal goal of mine to be like, what if I can just replace your income, or not replace, or replicate, or achieve. I keep running what my business is making, but then also make what he's making on top of that, just for fun, not because we necessarily need the money. Not because we're in a place where he needs to he loves his job. He does a really great job at running his own company. But it's just kind of like a personal goal for me to be like, ooh, man, can I challenge myself to make more than my husband? Like, and it feels just a very fun goal. And that's another thing I've done with my own relationship with money, is making it more fun, not making it from a place of like pressure or needing or survival, but just for fun. So that's currently by the end of this year, by December 31st, 2025, I want to have continue making what I'm making in my business, and then also make what he's making in his business. So that would make me very excited. And then the second thing is to just increase my freedom and to increase my ability to, so this is a little bit personal information, but Nick and I are planning on starting a family very soon. And so just really thinking about, thank you. Thinking about what would that look like? How do I want to spend my time? How will my life change? And if I was a doctor, my kids would have gone to daycare really soon. But I want to parent my kids all the time. I mean, there might be some different activities. There might be daycare here and there just for their own enrichment and interaction. But like, I am really just thinking about how can I continue to increase my earning potential in my business, continue to do what I love and sustain it and make more, but also create space in my life to be a mom, to continue to expand the things into the things that I want. But it's a little uncharted territory, so I'm kind of doing my own inner work around what does it look like? Does it have to come with sacrifice? And can it still come with ease and peace and fun like I like it to?
And lightness. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Last question is, if there was a specific book, whether it's audio book or hard copy book, a specific book in obviously relation to mindset or personal growth that's had the most impact on you, what is that book? And I'm going to link this in the show notes for everyone who is listening to the episode.
Can I pick two books?
Sure can. Okay. You can do three if you want.
I got two that I can't pick between. Number one, this book found me even before I got into medical school, and to this day it is very foundational to a lot of what I teach. It's called Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. I've read this book 6 or 7 times, and every time I read it I get something new out of it. And it's very much about how can we return to being most loving towards ourselves, towards our bodies, towards money, towards our relationships, towards our spiritual relationship. And how can we return to just be more loving in all areas? And oftentimes when a lot of people are operating from fear and operating from anger, but when we're able to shift to operating more from fear and just higher vibration thoughts and feelings, then our whole life changes. So that book, fucking phenomenal book. I've lost count of how many people I've bought it for, how many clients I've gifted it to. That's number one. And then number two, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I went through, we didn't even talk about this on today's podcast, but I went through some health challenges also that first year of my business. And there was a really big connection between what I was thinking and what my body was going through. And when I made the connection of how can I really use my mind in a way that's going to heal my body as well, it's crazy how fast my healing was expedited because of what I was implementing. And it doesn't apply just to healing something physically. It very much goes into healing different mental limiting beliefs and traumas that often manifest as physical or physically expressed. And so it was a really game-changing book for me, and it's something I also recommend. Those are the two books I will purchase for my clients on a regular basis. So love
incredible.
them.
Have you the book that I send all of my clients when we first begin, have you read The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra?
Yes, man. I've read it like 8 years ago, but yeah, I love Deepak. I absolutely love all of his stuff. He's amazing.
Incredible. Nathalie, thank you once again for your time. I've really, really enjoyed the conversation. I know that the audience is going to take so much value from our chat today. I'm super excited to keep learning from you as well inside the community. And if there's ever anything that I can do to add value for you, don't ever hesitate to let me know. But I appreciate your time, and I'm really looking forward to the audience getting to consume this episode. And yeah, I appreciate you and hope you have an incredible rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate you. It was so much fun, and I'll see you soon.
Beautiful.